Can you believe this man was playing rugby with no legs? His favorite sport was rugby. However, one time he was injured and luck followed him with this injury. However, few years later, his life was ruined with one incident. This is the story of Oscar Pistorius from South Africa. A little background about Oscar Pistorius. He was born in November 1986 in South Africa. Shortly after, it was discovered that he was suffering from a condition known as fibular hemimelia, which affects the bones of the legs. At 11 months, the doctors told his parents that the best treatment was to cut off the legs just below the knees, and the parents accepted. At 11 months, his legs were amputated or cut off. His parents were so sad, but they did the best thing for their child, and when time came, they trained Oscar Pistorius to walk using artificial legs. And when time to join school came, Oscar Pistorius was taken to Pretoria Boys, where he excelled in class, and he also liked playing sports. He played these three sports: number 1, water polo; number 2, tennis; and number 3, rugby. But rugby was his favorite sport. In 2003, Oscar Pistorius was a happy man because he was a regular player in a rugby team where he used to school, Pretoria Boys. One time they had a match and Oscar Pistorius was one of the main persons. The match started well, but as the match went by, one of the opponent tackled Oscar Pistorius really badly, and Oscar Pistorius' knee was injured so badly and he was taken to the hospital immediately, and he was ruled out of the team for some time. While in hospital, Oscar Pistorius was in so much pain, but he was determined to recover quickly and go back and join his teammates because they had more matches in the future. However, he did not know that this injury was his turning point. As Oscar Pistorius was recovering, in June 2003, at the age of 16 years old, his parents got Oscar Pistorius a coach who could train him so that he could get strength on his legs. And the coaches were so impressed, and they were also so amazed because there was something they had seen on Oscar Pistorius as he was recovering. With this hidden talent, which the coaches had spotted, they introduced Oscar Pistorius to a totally new sport, which Oscar Pistorius was not interested in at all. This sport was not among the 3 sports which Oscar Pistorius liked, and this sport was athletics. Coaches, with the permission of the parents, they bought Oscar Pistorius artificial legs for running known as carbon fiber prosthetic blades. And Oscar Pistorius started training with these legs. Within few months, Oscar Pistorius was taken to a podium in their school to compete with other athletes. And when the gun was shot up, signaling the athletes to start, Oscar Pistorius surprised the world. And Oscar Pistorius won that match with a big margin. And it was time for the coaches to elevate Oscar Pistorius to the next level, which was the nationals. In the national levels, he did not disappoint. He actually won so many races, and the country was ready to be represented by Oscar Pistorius from his records in the national competitions. And in September 2004, Oscar Pistorius was on his way to an international race. His major competition happened in Athens in September 2004, where he also surprised the world by winning a gold medal and breaking the record that was previously there. he set a world record. He competed in more and more races in the international stage. He even went ahead and decided that it was time to compete with the able-bodied athletes. And also in this competition, Oscar Pistorius still won medals. It was now confirmed that Oscar Pistorius was one of the greatest Paralympics in the world. Back home, Oscar Pistorius had a fiancée known as River Steenkamp. A little background about River Steenkamp. She was born in South Africa in 1983. River Steenkamp went to St. Dominic's School where she excelled and joined university, a university known as Nelson Mandela Metropolitan, where she pursued law, and while pursuing law, she started modeling, and this modeling career started paying her small money here and there. But when she was finishing school or university in 2005, modeling was paying her a lot of money. So she graduated, but she continued modeling. She appeared in different runways and she became one of the most famous models in South Africa. These two, Oscar Pistorius and River Steenkamp, met at a car show event. Both of them were introduced by a mutual friend, and within no time, they clicked and they were in love. You could see their photos in their social media, holding each other and buying each other presents and posting. It was no secret that these two were going to marry in the near future because they were seen all over together, just lovey-dovey. Now, forward to 2013, February the 13th, a day before Valentine's. These two, Oscar Pistorius and River Steenkamp, went out and bought gifts which they were going to give each other on 14th February. So they came back in the evening with their gifts and they spent quite a good time together that evening. Oscar Pistorius got tired and went to sleep early, while River Steenkamp remained behind and did some yoga, then joined Oscar Pistorius in the bedroom. However, that day it was really hot and Oscar Pistorius decided to open the windows in the bedroom and set up a fan that was running in order to cool the bedroom and the whole house if possible. Then both of them went to sleep. At about 3 a.m. in the morning, Oscar Pistorius was still feeling hot and he felt like the window and the fan were not doing anything. So he went and switched off the fan and closed the window. Then he came back to the bed. But before he reached the bed, he had a sound like it was an intruder who was trying to access their house. So he reached down at his bed and took out a gun and told his wife, "Please call the police immediately." It was total dark. He feared that if he turned on the lights, the intruder could see him. In 3 a.m. pitch darkness, Oscar Pistorius walked slowly with his gun towards the direction where he believed he had a sound of an intruder. And when he reached the washroom, he shot 4 times. And shortly after, he heard someone falling or something falling down on the toilet, and he believed he had injured an intruder. Then he moved back really scared. And when he reached the bed, he tried holding the bed with fear, but he did not believe whatever his hands were touching. Then he went near the switch bulb and turned on the lights, and he did not believe his eyes. He did not believe what had just happened. So Oscar Pistorius went back to the washroom and tried to access the washroom, but it was locked from inside. He looked around and saw a bat. He took this bat and went and knocked the door of the washroom, and one panel from the door fell down. Then Oscar reached inside and opened the door, and he could not still believe what had happened, because the thing or the person he had had falling was actually her wife. He didn't expect it, so he carried her from the toilet seat and took her outside and tried doing first aid. He called one of his neighbors, and the neighbor came also, tried doing first aid. The police arrived, and also the paramedics arrived and tried to do first aid to River Steenkamp. But it was too late. And River Steenkamp, the beautiful, famous model of South Africa, was announced dead at the scene. And the police did not waste any time. They arrested the 26-year-old man, one of the greatest athletes, Paralympic athletes, was arrested and taken to police custody for investigation, questioning, and interrogations. Oscar Pistorius was now under the police custody. In the police custody, Oscar Pistorius was questioned on what happened, and Oscar Pistorius explained himself that he woke up at 3 a.m., went and turned off the fan, closed the window, then he heard a sound and moved to where the sound came from and believed it was an intruder and shot 4 times. The police wrote this on the charge sheet and took Oscar Pistorius to court the following day as required by the law. And in court, Oscar Pistorius explained himself on what happened. The way he woke up at 3 a.m. and because he was scared and shot 4 times. Then he realized that it was River Steenkamp later. The court had both sides. The state which brought Oscar Pistorius to court, and Oscar Pistorius tried to defend himself. However, the judge, after listening to both sides, he believed that Oscar Pistorius had no intention to kill River Steenkamp, and his sentence, his crime was reduced from murder to manslaughter, and he was given 6 years in prison. However, the state or the prosecution was not happy with this sentence of 6 years. They believed that it was too low, and they wanted Oscar Pistorius to be sentenced with murder crime. So they went to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal listened to the case again. And after listening keenly, the Court of Appeal sentenced Oscar Pistorius with murder. They said that Oscar Pistorius had the intention of killing the person on the other side of the door, irregardless it was his wife or any other person. So he was given 13 years in prison. And on the other side, River Steenkamp was buried, and her parents formed a foundation in memory of River Steenkamp. This foundation fights for the rights of women and girls, and also is trying to stop domestic violence in South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our story, and that is how Oscar Pistorius came from a rugby player to an athlete and finally to a prisoner in South Africa. Until next time.